Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by singer, songwriter, inspirational speaker, podcast, and coach, A.B. Oginni. A.B. specializes in helping upcoming artists monetize by giving them the tools that they need to run a profitable musical business. So we're going to be talking to her about that and her work and everything that she's up to. So, A.B., thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Curtis. Really appreciate it.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is A.B. Oginni. As you said, I live in the UK in a little town called Derby. It's about 2 hours from London. I am a mom of two boys, married. I'm also a pediatrician. I am a singer-songwriter and I'm a podcaster as well. I run, apart from my pediatric job, I also run an emerging music coaching business where I empower and equip other artists to step out powerfully and boldly into their calling. But more importantly, I teach them how to monetize their music so they have the funds that they need to keep releasing this beautiful music that's impacting their world. I have just had this shift into music since the pandemic happened, where, when we all sort of went back to doing our hobbies and things that we had loved and sort of pushed aside when life got busy, and we all had a little bit more time on our hands to go back to doing those things. For me, it was music, it was songwriting. And in the midst of all of that, I started to feel a call to actually release music. So then I took that shift to releasing music professionally, and it's just been a blast. So my music is, I suppose, mainly gospel. But a lot of it is around mental health, perseverance, hope, things that we all needed to hear during the pandemic. So yeah, that's the sort of music I do.
Okay, well, you just answered a couple of questions for me there. Speaking of perseverance, talk about your journey to becoming a pediatrician as well.
Yeah, so that was an interesting journey full of a lot of ups and downs. So I knew that I wanted to be a doctor since about the age of 3 years old, because I remember having a doctor's gift set, playing doctors. So I knew since I was that little that I wanted to be a doctor. And then I finished secondary school, did the entrance exams to uni, and finally got into a medical school. And I was like, yes, this is it. This is amazing. But it was a huge shift from the sort of small secondary school that I had gone to, much bigger crowds, much bigger halls. And it was just really hard to engage, to connect. And I was failing, essentially. But there had been things that had happened through my early life, like having a medical condition and having to keep going. And that had taught me the power of perseverance. I grew up in a household with a strict army dad who sort of taught us to keep going no matter what. So it wasn't even in my DNA to think about quitting. I kept going, but it was such a struggle. Eventually, I had the opportunity to switch schools and I traveled abroad, and I had to start all over again, sitting entrance exams again, in Ireland, Dublin at the time. And then got into college again, into medicine again. And this was much better. I connected. It was smooth sailing. I was like, yes, this is it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And then I got to final year again and I failed my final exams. I was like, oh no. And the plans that I had for post grad, a lot of it depended on my finals. And I was like, this is it. Like my career has gone down the toilet. I was really heartbroken at the time, but I kept going. I sat the exams again. It was like an extension, like a 4 to 6 months extension. Did the exams again and passed. My plans changed a little, but not a lot. Um, Instead of going to the States to train as a pediatrician, I stayed back in Ireland and then eventually moved to the UK. And I'm still doing what I wanted to do through all of the ups and downs. And now it's learning how to run a business now because I did not go to school to study business. So it's been a lot of growth, but it's been an incredible journey.
Well, congratulations on completing that journey. So
Yeah,
tell
thank you.
tell us about your business. What made you want to start the music coaching and explain to the listeners what you can do for upcoming artists.
Yeah. So, I I started out as an artist saying, okay, I have a great voice. I had been told that over and over all my life. And I loved singing. I loved music. It always been a huge part of my life. But I knew nothing about doing it professionally. I never thought that was an option for me. So I literally started out by getting some coaching and songwriting because I wanted to make sure my songs were good enough. So I did a 6 month coaching with a songwriting mentor. And I was like, great, I have enough songs for a first album. But then what comes next? And I had to get another coach to teach me about the business side of things and how to run it and what to expect in the music industry. And to my amazement, I quickly realized that successful artists run it as a business. There is a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. And writing and releasing music and performing is just a small part of what they do. And to survive in the industry and thrive and eventually earn back the money that you are investing, you would have to offer products or services or experiences that are different from just saying, hey, come to my concerts. So I had to start figuring out, okay, what skills do I have? What can I offer to my audience? What can I offer to people apart from music that will help me get the funds to keep going, to grow this business? And for me, it was coaching because through the years, I had, at some point, I even considered studying psychology because I thought I love talking to people. So when I talk about the choice I made as a medic, I tell people that I'm not a surgeon because I like my patients alive and talking. I love speaking to people. And since I was one who loved learning, I was like, well, I definitely think I can offer teaching artists like myself all this stuff I'm learning because I'm just going to keep learning from different people. So why don't I organize it into a structure that I can share with other people? And that's how I started. I started out with just one person to make sure I even liked it, and I did. And then it's been a journey from there. I only started last year. Now, what I do is help artists set up their business. Okay. Now, not just the singing and the songwriting and the performing, because there's lots of people that do that. I teach them how to think out of the box, to look at the skills and experiences they have and to package them into a product or service. So let me give you a couple of examples. So for me, obviously, it was coaching. I have learned a lot about the different parts of the music industry, and I've been able to put it into a structure where I can offer or sell a 3-month program to people where they meet with me every week and we go through their business and actually set it up. And I'm talking about starting from your messaging, So in a sentence, you're able to beautifully articulate what you do in a way that identifies your ideal client, and explains the impacts that you have on people. So, for example, as an artist, I bring music that brings contagious joy and persevering faith. So that's a line telling people that my music, when you come in contact with my music, you are going to be left with joy and persevering faith. And I teach other people, what do you want your music to communicate? Can you say that in a line? So when they have a chance to talk to the media, when they have a chance to send out media packages or go on radio interviews, they're able to communicate it really clearly. And then after the messaging, we go down to setting up your email lists, setting up a welcome series, and talking about different ways that you can grow your email. And I even teach them how they can grow their subscribers to 100 in a week. I tell them that really easily, and some of my clients have had great success with that. I'm a huge fan of multitasking and, whenever possible, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So I incorporate that into my program because I do too many things and I'm too busy to waste time. So I'm always teaching people, multitask when you can. So for some of my other clients, I helped them realize that, well, you've had great success with homeschooling. Why don't you think about offering something around homeschooling to people, where you sort of have a program teaching them how to homeschool? Or people that have had great success in their marriages. Some of my clients are grandparents, and I'm like, well, do you want to have maybe like a 6-week event or group around marriage and how to keep your marriage thriving and vibrant? Just share from your experiences and bless people. I'm sure there are lots of people that are gonna do it. She's also thinking about starting a podcast around marriage as well. So I was able to do this for them because I had sat down with them, gone through what skills they had, what experiences they had, and looked for other ways that they could monetize. And then they could run these programs maybe 3 to 4 times a year. And obviously, a podcast is a great way to, let people know what you're doing. It has the potential to grow and have great impact. Another of my clients, she writes music to scriptures from the Bible. So she takes verses from the Bible and writes music to help people know them. I'm like, this is so niche, but people need it, So she's grown her YouTube channel. She has lots of subscribers. She has like hundreds and hundreds of videos, and she goes live regularly talking about it. And I'm trying to say, can we organize this a little bit better, organize it into topics and themes so people can say, okay, I need scriptures and songs around peace, around mental health, around finances. And it's all organized and they just go straight there. And then she can offer like membership, or she can even sell those themed items, so this is what I do essentially. Then I go through sales email funnels, where they can offer things via emails. I even go through helping them run a crowdfunding campaign, how to do that well, how to build community around your music. So yeah, that's what I do as a coach.
All right. Well, another thing you also do is you talk about finding fulfillment in the workplace. So tell us what
Yeah.
led you to start doing that and give us some tips on how we can find fulfillment in the workplace.
Yeah. Absolutely. So my journey in the workplace has had its moments as well, full of ups and downs. And I think this came about for me when I transitioned to the UK. So my husband and I, we got married in Ireland, started our family in Ireland, and then we moved to the UK so we could finish our training and specializing. So he's a GP. I'm rounding up my training in pediatrics, and I moved from a new country, rather, I moved to a new country, a new health system, new colleagues, new bosses. And I had moved after a year off working as a doctor from maternity leave. And I had moved to a completely new specialty or subspecialty in neonates. Now, I don't know what experience you may have on neonates, but I'm talking of babies that are as tiny as 500 grams. And I had to care for them, breathe for them, do every single thing for them. And this was a new system, new hospitals, new guidelines, new everything. It was a very stormy and chaotic shift for me. And I struggled that season. But it helped me um, learn certain skills that I think are really important to know in the workplace. And there were skills like being able to recognize when you needed help, um, asking for the help, and accepting the help. Because what I realized was there were skills that I just didn't have because the system in Ireland was different from here. So I had to take a step back and I had to ask for help and accept the help. But the beautiful thing was actually seeing other very experienced people do it. You see, in the field of medicine, and I'm sure in many fields, we all have our areas of specialty. There are different kinds of law, I know, for example. And even in pediatricians still have specialties. Some people are great in GI, gastro, some people are great at neuro. And I got to see them say, actually, I don't know this. I'm gonna have to research that and come back to you. Or we need to look at the guidelines. And I found out for myself that actually it's okay to say I don't know the answer to that. It's actually healthy because you identify the gap and you cover the gap. Oh, I need to read up on this. Oh, I need to get the experience in this. And then you go get it. So one of the first things was that vulnerability is okay, just being honest and saying, I don't know that. Because I realized that actually my colleagues trusted me more when I could actually say, I don't know that. I need help with this, you know? And then also just putting joy first. As a pediatrician, one of the things I love about my job is that children, are children. They are innocent. They want to have fun. They want to play around. And the fact that actually, no, you can give them that. The amount of times that I've been in the middle of a painful procedure, like maybe taking bloods on a child or putting a cannula in, and then singing some rhymes to them just to take their minds off the procedure, and having the mom and having a nurse sing along just so we could distract the child. It really got me thinking that, wow, I think putting joy first in a workplace is something that everyone needs to emulate. It could be as simple as in the middle of the workday, we take 15 minutes and go for coffee. And we make sure everyone has a cup of coffee. Who's making the coffee? What tea do you tea or coffee? We have that as part of our culture. And it's beautiful, especially when it's a high stress environment, or once a week, someone has the responsibility of bringing breakfast in. So we can all share as we're taught on a particular topic of the week. So just putting joy and a nurturing environment in the workplace, that goes a long way as well. And I think I'll stop there, but there's just a lot that I've found out about the workplace. And even I think one more is comparison, refusing to compare yourself with other people. Because as you know, I said everyone has their own specialty. Everyone has their own set of experience as well. And I tell you, that got me a couple of times. I actually had a song written from an experience where I felt, Amy, you really cannot compare yourself with people. And the song is called Be the Best You Can, because all we can do in the workplace is to take the skills and the experience and the strengths that we have and just make the best of them in the best way possible. That's really all we can do.
Well, tell us about your podcast. Tell listeners what they can expect when they listen to it.
Yes. It's called the Fulfilled Musicpreneur Podcast. And I talk to different guests who have experiences either in the music world or in the business world. And I essentially inspire artists and equip artists to think bigger, to stretch themselves, to make sure they are running their music career as a business, thinking about ways to constantly bring in funds, play the long game. I even brought up someone that was a book coach, because we all have stories, and a lot of our stories will be infused into the songs that we write. But actually, we don't have to just have them in music. We can actually have them in written form as well, So I brought her to talk about writing our stories and the different ways that we can do that, and different ways we can leverage that to grow our community, to grow our brand, and to bring in income. I've had a media coach who talked to us about being confident in camera and the different tips and tricks that we can use. So yeah, I've brought on lots of people. I think the last interview I had was with someone who had worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, had great success, and then had come into the music scene and had then brought in a lot of ideas and lessons that he had learned in business to apply to his music. And he essentially talked to us about the different ways that we can be more competitive and raise and increase our brand so we can be more outstanding in what we did. So it was a great conversation.
Do you have any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about?
Yeah, I do. So I released a couple of songs this year around so one was called Scars to Gold, and it was about how God can take our scars and make something beautiful out of them. There is a Japanese tradition where they take some bowls that are broken, and then they actually put them back together using gold. And it actually looks more beautiful than what it was before. So that inspired the song. And released another song recently and another one coming out again end of the month. And what I'm really excited about, though, is something I'm planning for next year around mental health, where I'm going to interview different people around mental health. So I'm essentially trying to combine my pediatrician work, working with teenagers and seeing a lot of teenagers that struggle with mental health, and combining my music art with it, because I'm going to write some songs around mental health, interview art therapists, music therapists, psychologists, and lots of people that work with children, maybe even some teenagers themselves, maybe some parents that have struggled. And I want to create a resource that they can use in their homes to help better their mental health when they're going through hard times. Something that parents can do with their teenagers, because what happens is they suffer through, trying times, maybe get into some tough spots, end up in a hospital. However, because they don't meet the criteria of either needing help for depression and needing help for, attempted, maybe accidental overdose or something, because they've not done any of that, they actually don't meet the criteria to get helped and to get seen by the psychology or psychiatric services here, which I find really heartbreaking. So I'm hoping that there'll be a resource that people can use in their homes that will help, and then I'm going to write some music around it as well, and offer it to schools and, to places that need it, because I think there is a mental health crisis now in the community, and it just breaks my heart to see that at work every day.
Absolutely. Well, give out your contact info so listeners can find you, listen to your music, and keep up with everything that you're up to.
Yes. So my website is aboginni.com. It is EBIOGINNI.com. But I have something special that I offer to people who join my community. I have a collection of songs, some of my best songs, that you get to download for free, along with the story behind the songs and a guided journal. So if you click the link in the description, I've given that link to Curtis, it'll be in the description. If you click that link, you get to send me your email, and the package, the welcome package with the songs and the ebook comes to you. And that way you can also keep abreast of any songs I'm releasing and any projects that I have coming up.
Okay. Close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or just any final thoughts that you have for the listeners.
Yeah, I will just say, dream big. Dream big. Don't let anyone put you in a box, and don't put yourself in a box. Those dreams and desires that you've been afraid to even dream about, well, write them down and take action, even if it's the smallest action. Take action on them, because they can happen. They can become a reality. But dream big and go for those dreams.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, aboginni.com. Please be sure to check her out. If you know of any upcoming artists, follow, rate, review, get this episode to them. Maybe she can help them. Listen to our podcast. If you have any guests or suggestion topics, cjackson102@cox.net is the place to send them. As always, thank you for listening. And AB, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me, Curtis. It's been amazing.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.